Brad Pitt's only movie after Se7en in Roger Ebert's perfect list belongs to a Trilogy.in Roger Ebert's great movies list. There are approximately 365 movies that range from classics like Lawrence of Arabia to retro-futuristic steampunks like Metropolis. Among them, Brad Pitt takes up considerable space for two of his iconic movies that were filmed 11 years apart, Se7en 1995 and Babel 2006. Although it is quite self-explanatory why Se7en would find a place in Ebert's list, the same cannot be said about his other film, Babel, which never received the kind of universal popularity and cult classic status like the David Fincher crime thriller. Despite being masterful rendition of chaos theory, the tragedy of life, death, and redemption, Babel hardly finds the recognition that it is worthy of. It is high time movie buffs and cinephiles took notice of Alejandro González Iñárritu's greatly misunderstood and highly underrated film, constructed as part of a beautiful, though at times confusing, series of films known as a Death Trilogy. Brad Pitt's Death Trilogy movie gets ranked among the classics by Roger Ebert for Leonardo DiCaprio. Brad Pitt is the only modern actor who has not one, but two of his films ranked in Roger Ebert's great movies list. Placed among such rarities as Akira Kurosawa and Hayao Miyazaki's masterpieces is Alejandro González Iñárritu's Babel, a film about prejudice, trauma, and cultural divide that all weave together in a confounding storyline. But to understand the intricacy of Babel, there first needs to be some context. Now, Roger Ebert was a hard man to please. Among the greatest movie critics that ever lived, Pauline Kael was the only one who surpassed Ebert in scarring filmmakers with a handful of scathing words. As such, when Ebert came out with a list of perfect movies, half of Hollywood was expected to run for the hills. However, Iñárritu's 2006 film was so biblically astounding that even Ebert could not turn away from the perfection of Babel. Composed as a part of his Death Trilogy, the Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett feature is meritorious enough to warrant even thesis papers published on the subject. Meanwhile, Ebert gave this movie 4 stars, his highest, while writing pages upon pages praising every individual arc, character, and plot of the movie in excruciating detail. Read his full review here. The importance of Brad Pitt's Babel in Alejandro González Iñárritu's Death Trilogy in 2006. Alejandro González Iñárritu, Guillermo del Toro, and Alfonso Cuarón broke into Hollywood with an Oscar-nominated movie each to their name, Babel, Pan's Labyrinth, and Children of Men, respectively. This launched, according to Roger Ebert, the new Mexican cinema movement. While Children of Men and Pan's Labyrinth are each masterpieces in their own right, Babel is still a world apart in class, sophistication, emotional complexity, and narrative richness. The movie explores themes of human degradation and the eternal cycle of pain and suffering in the context of chaos theory. The third in a series, preceded by Amores Perros, 2000, and 21 Grams, 2003, Babel has an overarching storyline that stretches across the globe, spanning America, Mexico, Japan, and Morocco in an interweaving plot that is bound together by the thoughtless act of a child. Ebert calls it the most powerful film in Iñárritu's trilogy, and rightfully so. He claims the film builds to a stunning impact because it does not hammer us with heroes and villains, but asks us to empathize with all of its characters. Meanwhile, the director himself has disavowed the term Death Trilogy in favor of a more optimistic title, saying, "My films don't revolve around death, but around life, the contingencies of life." As such, this trilogy of life that carries with it an unquantifiable burden of pain, sorrow, trauma, and suffering comes together in a raw arc that binds together corrupt characters in search of redemption, each in their own misguided way. Although Babel might be a difficult film to watch, it remains, as Roger Ebert rightfully pointed out, one of the greatest movies to have ever been made. It won 7 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director. Have you watched the complete series of films in Alejandro González Iñárritu's Death Trilogy? Let us know how Brad Pitt's Babel stood out to you from the rest. Babel is available to stream on Netflix and Prime Video.